Okay, episode 10 of Head to Head. Now, remember in last episode where we left off when Jerome was about to go off the rails because right now everything that he's dreaming of may or may not be real. His head is hurting, he's delusional. At this point, what's real and what's not real? The only thing he can do, or the only person that can bring him to reality, is Jyn. Jyn was sleeping and he heard noises, and when he woke up, thank God he woke up. Thank God, thank the Buddha that he saw Jerome about to go over the balcony rail, because if he didn't catch him, gone. That boy will be gone. I keep saying this is very sad for Jerome, but also he has a boyfriend. He couldn't tell Jyn, but he didn't tell Jyn about his problem. He didn't tell him about the future that he see. He didn't tell him anything. Yet Jyn is just being a supportive person. Yet still, how are you gonna be able to go around? It's episode 10 at this point. When are we gonna tell Jyn the truth? Like, are you still gonna just go around and let Jyn believe that what he's going through is basically about him, but not really about the real situation that he's seeing? Okay, we're at the bar and Maya and Van are talking. Mai is basically telling Van what he did to Farm was not right. As a friend, as Mai is Farm friend, he does not appreciate how Van is treating Farm. The fact that you, Van, literally asked Farm to be your boyfriend, and then later on down the line, you're acting like you're not in a relationship. So Mai asked, are you in a relationship with Farm? And Van said yes. Then Mai basically asked him, why are you acting like it's not a big deal? Van basically said, I just want him to be with me. Mai got upset because Van's reasoning for this situation was stupid. And basically, I said it before in previous recap that Van is basically keeping Farm around because, remember, he lost both his parents. He has no one. So in order to keep Farm, he has to literally tell the boy that he knows, like him, said he wants to be in a relationship with this person. It's basically the only way he can keep Farm from leaving him, which is stupid because basically this person likes you, and instead of trying to be friends and keeping him close to you, you decided to break his heart even worse than you did with your ex, and it's not looking good. Everyone is against Van for his situation, and yet they are their best friends, but at the same time, Van did wrong. We all admit that. Okay, we're back to Jyn and Jerome. Apparently, Jerome is having a high fever and Jyn is taking care of Jerome. Now, I have no idea what's the situation going to be after finding out what Jerome knows, but at the end of the day, they both care for each other. And honestly, it's getting chaotic. We're in episode 10 and I can't even fungal about my brain to know what the hell is happening for these two. I know what's happening for Farm and Van, but these two is a mystery. How is it that you're getting memories and not hashtag, but quote unquote visions of Jyn's parents and Jyn, but you have no vision of your friends? Like, come on, give us something. Okay, so we're back at Farm's apartment, and Farm is very, very upset. I would too. But then he's going to his drawer, and we see two items that we might be scared of. Or well, three. Lighter, a cigarette, and Van's old phone. It's gonna reach a point where Van's old phone will be a topic later on. Okay, so we're at the parking lot of Farm's apartment, and while he's walking to the apartment, he got a call from Mai. Mai is basically apologizing for how he took the situation because he was quote unquote drunk and he didn't mean what he said. Honestly, I understand Mai, but it needs to be said. Because basically what Mai said was true. He was taking advantage of Farm, and he needs to hear the truth of how he is. We ain't apologizing. Okay, so we still have the key to Farm's apartment, and we went in, right? After going in, Van sees that Farm is smoking, but when he went to confront him to talk to him, Farm is very upset. Then he noticed that Farm still has his old phone, and he noticed that Farm literally went through it. He opened the phone and went through it and saw a lot of things that he shouldn't have seen. First of all, Farm, invasion of privacy. We do not accept that. But at the same time, Van, you need help, sir. Maybe therapy or something. Yeah, we are upset with Van. I get that. But what I don't appreciate is the fact that Farm blew the smoke into Van's face. He knew his weakness, which is being allergic to the smoke. And you used that weakness against him. I did not like that. Poor Van. He was acting. And let me tell you something, Java knew how to cry. He did the acting very good. Okay, it's the next day, and we notice that Jyn is sleeping on the ground while holding Jerome's hand because, let's be honest, we don't want what happened last night happen again. Jerome woke up and is like apologizing for what he's going through. Jyn is like, it's okay. Then he let him lie down, but Jyn won't let go of Jerome's hand because he doesn't want what happened last night happens again. After convincing Jyn to lie down, Jerome decided to take it upon himself to video the sleeping Jyn to confess how much he cares for Jerome and how much he loves Jerome. All of this was filmed. Going to class, Jerome made it his mission to play this video over and over, which annoys Jyn and trying to help Jyn delete it, but he can't delete it. Anyways, they got interrupted by Mai saying that how could you be so happy when we have a serious situation with our friends going on? Yeah, I understand. Van is going through a serious crisis, but I mean, like, he made his bed. Lay in it, dude. Lay in it. So everyone is talking about the relationship that Van and Farm created. But the thing is, Van is at fault. Now, they saw that Farm is walking and Van got up trying to talk to Farm, but it's not going as how he planned it to go. Seeing that Van did not literally marinate anything through any of the situation, then Jerome decided that he's gonna talk to Farm. He knows that Farm always go to the library because this is where they first met Farm and met Jyn and Jerome because this is where they always fight. And he also said that because of Jyn and Jerome, Farm was literally blacklisted from the library for like 1 semester. Darling, are you telling me you guys were that bad? Anyways, he also tells us in the memories that that's how they met everyone else. He was the last. Now, it was that very day when Farm met Jyn and Jerome, he met Mai and Van. And trust me, it was that very day when Van was being so sweet and cute to Farm. That was when Farm fell in love with Van, literally the first day. Now, it was then that they realized Farm is not no ordinary kid. He's raised off rich family. But the thing is, this last name is connected to the owner of the university. But the owner of the last name is basically one of the rich conglomerate whatever people. But to Farm says there's like distant relative, which means they're not close like that. He just has the last name. That's it. Since the library is closing, they had to go somewhere else, which is the roof of the building. And Farm started expressing his concern about how he feels about his relationship, how Van is treating him, knowing that he knows that Farm likes him. But the thing is, Jerome is trying to give his insight on things, but even he knows that what Van did was wrong. While they're talking, Mai, Jyn, and Van followed them and listened to every conversation that they were saying, and even Van heard everything. Van can tell that what he did was wrong, but also he has a lot of mixed feelings because, let's be honest, it's Van. Okay, since the coast is not clear to stay with Farm, Van is staying with Jerome and Jyn, considering it's Jerome's and Jyn's idea in the first place. It was also there that Van found out that Jyn and Jerome are in a relationship. But now you're probably wondering, why is Jyn and Jerome alone in bed when they have a guest? Well, this specific guest, Van, decided that he wants to stay in the living room in the sofa because he doesn't want to interrupt the newly couple. And I agree, because I wouldn't either. Plus, he also said he wants to stay in the living room in the sofa to rethink his decisions of life choices. Why am I staying with Farm? Because let's be honest, they all agree that even though Van and Farm are not communicating, they decided that since they're all friends, they're gonna like each get their turn to be with the other. And Mai's a good friend, I ain't gonna lie you. He's a funny, good friend. I ain't gonna lie you, Van is definitely rethinking his choices, but even he can tell what he did was wrong. But then again, we must remember this is Van. Can he change? Maybe. Will he try to change? He's trying, but is it working? No. So it's the next morning, and clearly we know that Farm is still in love with Van, even though he tries to erase Van out of his mind. Like, for example, when they're getting ready for school, and Mai sees a socks that he wish to borrow but can't borrow because Farm took it away from him. Because remember, those are the socks that he gave Van. Okay, we're in class and everyone is trying to gear up for their end of exam except for Van. Van has a lot of things in his mind, basically about Farm, so he can't concentrate on work right now. Even though everyone is noticing, including Farm, but Farm is still upset, so he's not really paying Van any attention. At lunch, it's even worse because Van refused to buy lunch to eat, and Jyn and Jerome admits to everyone that Van did not eat breakfast. They're basically saying you better eat something or you'll literally die. You need to take care of your health. Van is like, then let me die. I'm like, dude, I get it. You're sad, you're angry, you're upset, you're whatever, but Farm is worse than you, and he's not acting the way you're acting. At this point, you need attention, but not that. Is talking to Van, basically telling him that he knows that Van is in love with Farm, and he knows that right now he's heartbroken because he knows the feeling because he had a girlfriend and they broke up, and he was basically in the same situation that Van is. Van didn't even know he was heartbroken and shocked to hear this. After Van talked to Mai, Van went to lay wait or stayed at Farm's car to see if Farm can come. Then when Farm showed up, he apologized again and again and asked for forgiveness, but Van still doesn't understand the things that he's doing. I'm glad that Farm is standing his ground because if he weakened like last time, Van will never understand the situation that he caused. Okay, so Jyn and Jerome went to Jyn's place and Jyn noticed his mother is not there and he's telling her that he's very sulky. Jyn is a mama's boy. After Jyn stopped talking to his mother on the phone, Jyn consulted his concerns that he feels like his mother is seeing someone. And Jerome said, hypothetically speaking, if his mother is dating someone, what if it's okay that the mother is dating the father? Before he could even say the word father, Jyn stopped him and said if his mother was dating, he wished it was not his father. He's not even calling the man his father, he's calling him the man. And he wants his mother to be in a happy relationship, but not the father, because the father has put him and his mother through a lot. Jyn said him and his mother went through a lot, mostly the mother, because of the father's popularity. His father's fans caused and says and did a lot of things to his mother. Even though he's upset with that, he's more upset with the fact that the father did nothing to protect them. I believe that the father did. The only way he could have done it is by distancing himself with the two. And even though it hurts, it was the only thing he could have done to protect them. Back at Farm's apartment, now either Farm took the key from Van or Van refused to use the key and decided to knock on the door, yelling out to Farm, apologizing, and even with that, Farm did not open the door. He's standing firm. After Van stopped talking, Farm thought that Van left, so when he opened the door, he saw that Van is sleeping on the whatever outside the door, and being the caring person he is, he did this. Back at Jyn and Jerome, I still say this is a stupid way to communicate. They both have each other's number. Why not call or text each other to say, hey, come over? Well, it's episode 10. Might as well celebrate the relationship by blessing the entire thing. Well, I don't know. Might as well.